What if labeling things as either good or bad in our lives is the actual reason why we are not experiencing as much inner peace as we would like? So most people think that the things that happen to us in life are either good or bad. And if this describes you, then I highly recommend staying tuned to hear the two stories that I'm going to share, which may reframe the way that you view the events and the things that happen to us. So the stories that I'm going to share came from this book called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And the books that he has written, I give credit to for helping me get past things like anxiety and depression, which I struggled with for a long time. And what I learned in these books gave me a different perspective on what actually causes those things and allowed me to not completely rid myself of them, but take them from like an 8 out of 10 down to like a 2. In fact, as part of a spiritual practice for me, I reread the books or listen to his audiobooks a few mornings every week, and it always helps to just give me some clarity and kind of quiet my mind so that I feel much more at peace. And so this is like my spiritual, fountain from which I drink when I feel like I'm needing some help, when I'm struggling with things in life. So I really highly recommend both of his books, this one and also The Power of Now. Now, I am far from a spiritual guru or an enlightened master, but I'm trying to get up and work on myself every day and grow my understanding of the world and my place within it. There's a couple stories that I recently read from this book that have really helped me to reframe the way I think about the things and the events that occur in my life and that happen to me. And so I want to share kind of what's been front of mind for me, because I think it could really help you as well. So I'm going to share two stories from this book. I'm going to read the stories verbatim, and I'm also going to share the morals and lessons that come at the end. Okay, so story number 1 is called, Is That So? The Zen master Hakuin lived in a town in Japan. He was held in high regard and many people came to see him for spiritual teaching. Then it happened that the teenage daughter of his next door neighbor became pregnant. When being questioned by her angry and scolding parents as to the identity of the father, she finally told them that he was Hakuin, the Zen master. In great anger, the parents rushed over to Hakuin and told him with much shouting and accusing that their daughter had confessed that he was the father. All he replied was, "Is that so?" News of the scandal spread throughout the town and beyond. The master lost his reputation. This did not trouble him. Nobody came to see him anymore. He remained unmoved. When the child was born, the parents brought the baby to Hakuin. "You are the father, so you look after him." The master took loving care of the child. A year later, the mother remorsefully confessed to her parents that the real father of the child was the young man who worked at the butcher shop. In great distress, they went to see Hakuin to apologize and ask for forgiveness. "We are really sorry. We have come to take the baby back. Our daughter confessed that you are not the father. Is that so?" is all he would say as he handed the baby over to them. The master responds to falsehood and truth, bad news and good news, in exactly the same way. Is that so? He allows the form of the moment, good or bad, to be as it is, and so does not become a participant in human drama. To him, there is only this moment, and this moment is as it is. Events are not personalized. He is nobody's victim. He is so completely at one with what happens that what happens has no power over him anymore. Only if you resist what happens are you at the mercy of what happens. And the world will determine your happiness and unhappiness. Because of Hakuin's response, the baby is looked after with loving care. Bad turns into good through the power of non-resistance. Always responding to what the present moment requires, he lets go of the baby when it is time to do so. Story number 2 is about a wise man who won an expensive car in a lottery. His family and his friends were very happy for him and came to celebrate. "Isn't it great?" they said. "You are so lucky." The man smiled and said, "Maybe." For a few weeks he enjoyed driving the car. Then one day a drunken driver crashed into his new car at an intersection and he ended up in the hospital with multiple injuries. His family and friends came to see him and said, That was really unfortunate. Again, the man smiled and said, maybe. While he was still in the hospital, one night there was a landslide and his house fell into the sea. Again, his friends came the next day and said, weren't you lucky to have been here in the hospital? Again, he said, maybe. The wise man's maybe signifies a refusal to judge anything that happens. Instead of judging what is, he accepts it and so enters into conscious alignment with the higher order. He knows that often it is impossible for the mind to understand what place or purpose a seemingly random event has in the tapestry of the whole. So essentially that story could have gone on, and you would never know whether one event was going to lead to something good or to something bad. So not only do we not really know whether something's going to end up being good or bad for us, when we live our lives only seeking to have great things happen to us and avoiding all bad things, then we're essentially at the mercy of what happens, which is completely out of our control. When things we perceive as good happen, we get a little bit of happiness, and then when things we perceive as bad happen, our happiness quickly turns to unhappiness. And it's really this vicious cycle that just keeps repeating itself over and over, when a lot of those things are either out of our control and we really have no idea whether that event is a good or a bad thing either. So if you're up for a little experiment, just for the next 24 hours, try to treat everything that happens in your life as completely neutral. Accept it as it is. Try not to put a label on it saying this is good or this is bad, and see what type of power that gives you to act upon what happens to you from that place of non-resistance. This will prevent you and your state of inner peace from being at the mercy of what happens to you. When your state is no longer determined by external events that occur in your life, that is when you can see a sustained sense of inner peace in your life. So anyways, those two stories helped me a lot to think about how to respond to things that happen in my life. I hope they help you as well. And if you've ever struggled with anxiety or depression, you're going to want to check out this video where I go into a deep dive on some other things I learned from this book that really helped me clear those things up. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you there.